It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast. Brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you in Southern California. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host John Riley. We apologize for being a little bit late, but we're going through some unique combinations of studio setups and equipment. There is nothing perfect about technology, or actually, technology is great till technology doesn't work. We are on the air. Finally, we appreciate your patience. We got an hour to get this podcast done. We're going to go a lot of different directions. John Riley, good afternoon. We got this sucker on the air again. I promised. You said you'd follow up. No foobar, quoting an old military term. We got it done.
You still think like you're broadcasting from a flamethrower signal from Mexico. You know, you have this old school mentality. We're trying to make this podcast fit into some of the complexities of our life these last few weeks or months. So anyways,
we're going to go a lot of different directions on this podcast. We got this thing on the air. Now we got to keep it on the air. Lots of coverage, lots of topics on the table. John, you want to start with baseball?
Yeah, we do. I mean, the Padres, are they going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline, Lee?
So the Padres are now in the midst of this elongated road stretch. You know, they play 16 road games out of a 22-game span. And right in the middle of this road stretch, they come home and they'll play 6 in a row at home against the red-hot Atlanta Braves and the first-place Dodgers. The Padres are sitting here right now at 38-35. They've lost 11 of their last 16. They've lost 15 of their last 22. And as we do this podcast on an off night for the Padres and Dodgers, the Padres are 9 games out of first place. So it takes us to the first topic that we're talking about. And we want you to join us in the Fans Forum chat box. Padres, buyers or sellers? 9 games back. Do they have the capability to cut into this Dodger lead between now and the 1st of August and make it a pennant race? Or will they have to stand up and start selling off things because they just can't get it done? You know, there's a lot of names out there. So I guess, John, my first question to you, and I'll throw a bunch of things at you and then you can respond. Just jot these down with your pencil. So do the Padres need a frontline starting pitcher, or do the Padres need another bat to maybe be the catalyst and get the rest of this batting order ignited? I think that's question one. Secondly, how do they get somebody if it involves a trade? Can you move somebody off your major league roster? Or do you have to trade Ethan Salas, maybe their hottest minor leaguer, who's having a really banner season at AA San Antonio? And then question 3, who do you want? Can you afford to pay a steep price to rent Tarek Skubal of Detroit for a year and a half? I mean, we've already experienced this whole Juan Soto equation. Do we want to revisit that? Would you rather try to rent a veteran that comes at a lower price like Freddie Peralta? Is there a fire sale about to begin in Miami? Would you make a run at Sandy Alcantara? It looks as if Minnesota is going to move their veteran starting pitcher Joe Ryan, but do you dare take a risk trade on a guy that's had some elbow issues? Do you go after somebody else who started quickly and has now had physical problems like Kodai Senga of the Mets? Once upon a time, they were interested in Shoto Imanaga of the Cubs, and he's been on and off the disabled list since last year. And, of course, there are others like David Petersen, who's been shunted to the Mets bullpen. Antonio Senzatella, Colorado, may be a better reliever than he is a starter. Or do you just push the pitching aside and try to go get a bat? And to me, the most unique bat out there is Jarren Duran of the Boston Red Sox. So, John, I put a lot of topics here. up on the bulletin board. Should the Padres be buyers? Who should they buy? What price should they pay? Or should they just give it up, be sellers, change the chemistry of the roster, and move people off here, in essence, give up on the season, 9 games out of first place already? John, your opinion.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I think your dog is sniffing down the wrong trail here, Lee. I mean, if they're going to add anything, they need to add hitting. I mean, the hitting is atrocious. And the pitching, I'm with you. I have a lot of questions about the pitching staff. But, somehow, some way, they tend to get things done. It's just that they can't score. And if they score 3 or more runs, they win a tremendous percentage of the games that they play. So if you're going to go hunting for talent, you got to add a bat. And you got to hope to God you can turn Machado around. You can turn Merrill around. You can get Campusano back. You can make Bogarts more than he already is. There's a lot of question marks. I mean, there's a lot of Padre fans right now in the Padre Twitterverse that think, this is not a time to buy. This is a time to sell because this is no championship team. This is a team that they don't even think is going to make the playoffs, even though if the season ended today, my understanding is that they're in the playoffs.
End of the day, even if they were to get into the playoffs, do you realistically think they have enough pitching that they could hold up in a best-of-3 series or a best-of-5 series or a best-of-7 series? Unless you can use the bullpen every minute of every hour of every game of every day. John, right now they are not a complete baseball team.
No, they're not.
And you and I talk about this almost daily when we text each other back and forth, and I write about it, and I read what other people have to say. I just don't see that they have a 26-man roster that's playing to potential, and the season's getting away. If they're 9 back at this hour, what's to say they won't be 18 back by the 1st of August? Because I don't think there's anybody in the cavalry that's going to come rescue this team that's currently in the organization. So that's an issue. Now, why would you not want to make a trade for an established starting pitcher? Because I don't know where you're going to go get a bat. That's the burning question. And you might be able to rent a veteran pitcher for a year or a year and a half. The Scuba price tag is beyond what I think they want to pay, but I listed those names that I think could come in and help you. And if you start to get quality starting pitching, you don't burn through your bullpen. If you get quality starting pitching, you're not running uphill every day with a batting order that's hitting 218 with the hope, well, maybe we can score some runs. And I also must tell you, we have to end this, oh my God, they're back. Just because they scored 6 runs against the Orioles or they beat somebody 1 out of 3 in St. Louis does not mean they are back. Look at the numbers I just quoted you, where they've been the last 3 weeks, the last 4 weeks in baseball. So you're not of my opinion that maybe an arm is more important to give them quality starts than a bat?
It's a matter of priorities, Lee. I mean, right now, the Padres are not hitting. So if you're going to add anything, add hitting first. And then, if you want to keep adding, pitching would be great on the starting staff. But to your point, I don't think this is a team that is really worthy of investing in. It's a team that we expected a lot more from. We keep thinking some of these old guys are going to turn it around, and they just keep falling flat on their face, like Manny Machado and, the 2 catcher duo we have of Duran and Fermin. There's no hitting there. There's problems up and down the lineup. Half the lineup is AAA El Paso Chihuahuas. So this is not a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs if they make it at all. You have to make a decision right now. If Musgrove and Pivetta have any chance of coming back, maybe you could thread a needle and make a deal to add a bat and hope that Machado turns the corner. That's a lot of ifs. I mean, I think you're kind of at a point now where Preller might want to just kind of write this season off and start to stock up the farm system.
Okay, that's topic 1 because we're baseball centric. We're going to give you the opportunity to join us right now. Late start, bit of a shorter show today, but we want to hear from you in the Fans Forum chat box. And I will tell you, there are people who have messaged us that said, Hacksaw and the Life of Riley are just piling on this team and you guys are being unfair. No, I think we're being pretty damn realistic. You're the ones that are cheering one good game out of 3, a few RBIs and hits here, where your collective team batting average is 2.18 and your starter's ERA isn't very good. But you're entitled to your opinion. We don't know what it is until you express it. Go to the Fans Forum chat box right now and just tell us, buyer, seller, priority, pitching or hitting? Vote of confidence to the general manager? Or was I correct all along, John, with my opinion? The window of opportunity was this. It's getting to this. It's almost at this now. Big contracts, veteran players, a lot of age, and you can't move those guys. Was I right or was I right?
You SOB. I told you so. I mean, we knew there's always been a risk of all these big contracts. I don't think any of us expected them to kind of flame out so soon. But I'll tell you what, though, right now, the mood in Padre Twitter amongst the fan base is not optimistic. There are some fans that are saying, hey, easy, fellas. But for the most part, the fans are saying this ain't working, cut bait, sell, and start over.
Okay, that's Padre topic. Let's go from that to the other two teams that we always hit hot button topics, talking Dodgers, talking Angels, talking trade of blue chips or trade of a star. John, let's talk about the Dodgers. General consensus across the board in Major League Baseball, they have the inside track at Tarek Skubal. The Dodgers have 11 quality players at AA and AAA that they could use as a bargaining chip to go get the Detroit Tiger left-hander for a year and a half, or maybe get him and then sign him to a state-of-the-art contract extension. I went back and looked. Zaire Hope, young outfielder, AA, Tulsa. He's hitting .282 with 13 home runs after a great season last year. Josu DePaula, Tulsa, .328, 11 home runs in a third of a season. He had a great year last year. Mike Sirota, another outfielder, hitting .330. Jay Tibbs, .305, 19 home runs, AAA. They had gotten him in a prior deal from the Red Sox. There's River Ryan, 3-0, 2.81 ERA, Oklahoma City. Young prospect pitcher Jackson Ferris. In addition, Alex Freeland up with the big club, Dalton Rushing up with the big club, and the young rookie from the Pacific Rim, Hyseon Kim. That is just a collection of the top guys at the top of their farm system. In Detroit with Skubal, they could probably turn around and look and cherry pick and say, I want 2 or I want 3. And the Dodgers would find a mix of young prospects and maybe 1 or 2 of those veterans who would go from the top. So that's an item with the Dodgers. The second piece of this conversation has to do with the Angels. What do you do with Mike Trout? Angels are embarking on another 100-loss season. At this point, he has not indicated, John, he wants to be traded. But I've been told Cleveland's called, Boston's called, Philadelphia's called. Boston has an awful lot of young talent. Some of it force-fed at Fenway Park, some of it down at AA, AAA. A 3-for-1, 4-for-1 deal for an aging Mike Trout could probably be win-win for both of these sides. Angels would get stockpile of young guys who would probably play immediately. Trout goes to a pennant race in Philadelphia, maybe a pennant race in Cleveland, maybe Boston, which desperately needs a right-handed bat. Because everything that Perry Minasian has tried has failed. None of the bats he's brought in from the outside has been consistent nor trustworthy. The pitching from Grayson Rodriguez to Alex Manoah, and now with the release of Drew Pomeranz, has just been a disaster. And they're looking at another 100-loss season. So, John, Dodgers trade blue chips or not? Angels trade Mike Trout or not?
Well, if you're the Dodgers, you got to go all in. I mean, you have a historic opportunity here for 3 championships in a row. You'd have to go back to the early 1970s with the Oakland A's for the last team that did that. And then It go back further in time, probably to the 1950s New York Yankees. So this is an historic opportunity. And imagine having a playoff rotation of Ohtani, Yamamoto, Snell, and Skubal. Okay, and you still got like Glasnow maybe coming back. Robleski's been pretty darn good. Sheehan's had some great moments too. I mean, the Dodgers just they got the chips like to trade. But you know what will end up happening is they'll probably only have to give up one good guy, because rarely do they give up a big bushel full of prospects. It's usually tier 2 or tier 3 prospects. But anyways, the Dodgers should go all in. As far as the Angels, I mean, if I'm an Angel fan, I would want to see Mike Trout move on, because the situation ain't working. It's like LeBron with the Lakers, Trout with the Angels. This is not a winning formula right now at this point in their careers. Turn the page, stock up the system, and build from within.
Okay, we're inviting you who's wearing Dodger blue. You're an Angel fan, tarp off, shirt on, whatever your status is. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is now open for business. So that's what's gone on the field. John, the story that broke at mid-afternoon today in Major League Baseball, wow.
Yeah, big ripple effects in the MLB draft coming.
Yeah, today they had a negotiating session in New York. Nobody knew about it till early afternoon. Rob Manfred, Bruce Meyer made proposals. The owners have proposed a radical change in the baseball draft. I don't know how this is possible, why they would do this, because it's not fair to everybody. The owners have said, we want the baseball draft to be only for college players and only for players from abroad. Eliminate high school players from the draft. And what their theory is, with NIL money out there now in college baseball has an opportunity to become a feeder system to Major League Baseball. Let the young players go to college, get improved, mature, grow, and get drafted after their sophomore season. Now, that's fine and dandy if you got a pitcher that you think's going to be a superstar and he wants to go to college. But not everybody academically is acclimated at age 17 or 18 to go to university. So here's the question. Is that really fair to a high school kid that might not be, or could be a borderline academic student, to be excluded from the draft if he's got all the skill and all that talent? So that's item one, what the union just proposed. Also, they're proposing to take the draft from 20 rounds down to 12. And they're going to cut the bonus pool money from $380 million to $200 million. Their theory is you'd be drafting only mature college developed players, and you won't have to get into bidding wars for anybody else. Interesting aspect there. In addition, Rob Manfred has proposed you can trade draft picks for the first time in Major League Baseball history. So this came out of this clear blue sky. The other piece that was proposed today was an international draft for all the foreign players. Obviously, the Caribbean and the Pacific Rim, prime development grounds. What they're proposing is a 12-round draft for international players, slotted amount of bonus money, no bidding. You draft them, they get paid in the slot. You can't be eligible for the international draft till you're age 18, which means no more under this table dirty work stuff with 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, hiding them, stashing them at academies. Interested to see how this is going to work. They have to clean up the whole baseball aura in the Caribbean, which is still really corrupt. Now, I don't know how this is going to work as it relates to Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, the Pacific Rim. Will their players fall under the same umbrella where They go through a system, and at age 18, they're eligible to be drafted. Intriguing to see where that goes. So that's what baseball presented. It's very, very different. But I just don't think it's doable because there's a segment of high school stars who don't want to go to college or might not be academically accredited to go to college. Where are they supposed to go? And is that fair to them at age 18? That's item one. Then there's what Bruce Meyer proposed. He didn't want to talk about the draft. He wanted to talk about more money. John, it's a good one. Bruce Meyer just proposed an owner's tax. Every time a franchise is sold because the valuation of teams are going up and up and up, the Baseball Players Association will get 10% of the sales price. And he quoted the San Diego Padres. Prime example, $3.9 billion, the sales price. That would equate to, I believe, $319 million would go to the Players Association under the owner's tax. Now, the burning response is, yeah, you want a partnership? You want to share in all the profits? You're not sharing in any of the damn expenses. These owners have a right to make a big profit because there's the ones that are signing the 200 players that run through their whole farm system, and they're the ones that are paying the cost of the operation of every minor league franchise, and they're the ones that pay for all the medical care at every different level. And by the way, the owners are the ones that pay all the employees at the big club and every farm system team there is. It's typical Bruce Meyer, just give me more money. He's all about the bank. I don't think this thing is going to fly whatsoever. So, John, that's an in-depth cover of what was presented early afternoon today in New York City by Manfred and Bruce Meyer. Yeah, everybody's going to have opinions about what they're trying to do with the draft, and this union wants more money. What's your opinion out in left field? Go ahead.
Well, both sides are positioning themselves around money. I mean, of course, Bruce Meyer wants more money to go to the players, but this proposal from Manfred is to give less money to the draft picks because there's less rounds. The pool to sign is going to be a lot lower. So in this case, I just see this as positioning, in terms of how they're going to structure the final arrangement, because you got to present extremes before you can kind of work your way into the middle. Now, it is interesting how the NBA and the NFL have used the college system as a unofficial minor league system for years, of essentially deferring a lot of that expense. I mean, that's been pretty much a sweetheart deal. Major League Baseball looks like they want to get part of it, but I don't like the proposal where domestic players and international players are treated differently. Because if an international player could be drafted at age 18, then an American player should be able to be drafted at age 18. But if you wait till after their sophomore year of college, they'll be 20 by then. So that doesn't seem right to me. But I will say that the proposal from Meyer about, the percentage of the sales price, it's just essentially giving the players an ownership stake in the game. If I'm an owner, I would entertain that idea as a trade-off for the guaranteed contract deal that the Major League Baseball has. Because how many times have owners, extended themselves, signed players to $9, $10, $14 million deals? The player, turns into Anthony Rendon and they get screwed, So this is a way that maybe the players, they could share in the reward, but they also need to share in the risk. So in those cases, if you get injured in the middle of a big contract, maybe you shouldn't get paid.
Here's the issue, because the first name that came to mind when I thought about the owner's tax, you mean to tell me that Juan Soto isn't making enough money on a $765 million contract at no risk at all?
That's what I'm saying.
They want more money? I mean, that's the absurd aspect of it. Now, this might all be tied to a salary cap. Oh, you want a 10% owner's tax on the sale of the Padres? Okay, but you're going to agree to a salary cap. Well, then this is not going to go forward because they're never going to agree to a salary cap. So I think what Meyer has asked for is absurd. I think what Manfred has asked for vis-a-vis a radically different draft is kind of unfair to a select group of young, really good ball players here in the U.S.
Yeah, but this is just all positioning, Lee. I mean, it's negotiation, so, it's the art of the deal, as we're taught, which, by the way, hasn't been working very well for you-know-who. But anyways, this is just positioning. They're creative ideas. I like hearing the ideas. But in the end, yeah, like you're paying Juan Soto, the Queen's ransom. But he wouldn't be getting the Queen's ransom if he were already having some kind of owner share, essentially having stock in the league. So I think this is something that can be worked out. But in the end, if the players want to get, some of the profit, then they've got to be able to be willing to give something. And I think the guaranteed nature of the MLB contracts would be a fair swap.
Bruce Meyer is going to text you in about an hour and tell you you're full of crap. When in modern day history did the union give anything back? That union. John, you're reaching. But
if you're asking for 10% of the Padres' $3.9 billion sale, that's a reach. I mean, why are the players entitled to the $390 million that the Seidlers parlayed in their investment and they got a great return? The players aren't entitled to that because it's not built into their contract. Instead, they're getting these, Xander Bogaerts 14-year deals. So, again, it's give and take. I know MLB union has been like the most powerful union in America, and no other league gives out guaranteed contracts the way they do. But if you keep asking for more and more, you got to be prepared to give. It's got to be a mutually beneficial trade.
We are baseball centric. We cover the topics in baseball, and then we express opinions. And when we're done, we're going to let you respond. What's your reaction to Rob Manfred's proposal to radically change the draft? Your response to Bruce Meyer that there should be an owner's tax and the players, you want us as partners, we should get more money once the Padres are sold. Agree or disagree? Fans Forum chat box is open for business. We're just underway. Our delayed Thursday podcast off and running. We go from that to everything that's on my TV right now. It's called World Cup Soccer. John, you having a good time?
It's been an awesome tournament. We're learning so much and really exciting games.
Yeah. First week, only word I can use is the word that you put up there, fireworks. Boy, these games have been good. So here I am the other night. So I'm doing all this work for my website, getting ready for my KUSI packages on the weekend, and I'm watching the World Cup games. I'm tuning in and out. And all of a sudden, on the same day, I get the chance to see that guy, Messi. And I get the chance to see Mbappe. And then I get the chance to see Erling Haaland. And the next day I get to see Harry Kane. That's the creme de la creme of the great individuals playing soccer globally. And I'm sitting here, and every time I look up, I see these plays, and Messi gets a hat trick. Mbappe scores 2 goals in about 20 minutes. Harry Kane scores 2 goals at the start of the game for the English side. And Haaland is everywhere for Norway. He gets 2 critical goals in their win. The dynamics of the individual players, sight to behold. And soccer at this level is far from boring. Those goaltenders, those keepers, it's like they're in sniper range. And the saves they are asked to make against these cannon shots from all directions and the traffic in front, wow. So week 1 has really, really been impressive. And I enjoy the broadcast, and I'm looking at it from a broadcaster's perspective, the unique personalities of the guys on the set, the former players who are analysts, the guys doing the play-by-play, and the color analyst upstairs. It's really been something. And the pageantry, John, the opening ceremonies with the anthems, the flags, the introduction of the players, the procession with the youth. So cool. You talk about finding a way to present something very, very special. I've been tremendously impressed. But think about that. I would say in a span of 4 hours, I got to watch the 4 best players on the globe all score critical goals in one day, just snapping my fingers, looking up, and here they come. I've been so impressed. And you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic. This whole tournament's so great, and we're only a week into it. And to your point, we got to see some of the superstars, which I think is terrific. But it's interesting listening to hardcore soccer fans, critique Messi versus someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. And, where Messi has God-given talent that Ronaldo doesn't have. And it seems like Ronaldo is sort of like the A-Rod of soccer, where he does kind of gets a little bit of disrespect. But, like you say, the pageantry, the fans in the stands, you always get some looks at a lot of beautiful women rooting for their team. But how about like the fans that have come to America that are on social media saying, I can't believe how great America is. And I can't believe that, you have all of this beauty and air conditioning and Buc-ee's, and all these things you see in social media posts. But truly, I think fans around the world have been getting so much bad news in their news feed, they didn't realize what a beautiful country this is. So it's been great to sort of show off America to the world and to say, hey, man, these stadiums, by the way, they're awesome. And the fans from international are coming in. Can't believe the infrastructure we have here.
They ran out of beer in Boston because of the Scottish entourage of fans. Think about that. So now the games, the matches, they've been fun. There have been some surprises too. If you check the out-of-town scoreboard, you say, what is that? Portugal tied Congo? First time in 55 years Congo's been here in a 1-1 game? What is that? Spain wound up in a 0-0 tie with who? Cape Verde? You got to be kidding me. The Dutch dynasty, Netherlands, wound up tied with tiny Japan. Japan's pretty damn impressive to me. Brazil. What would Pele say? Brazil wound up in a tie with Morocco in their first game. So there are some powers now that better doggone win their second game in group play, or they could be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, well, that's just what I was telling you before, Lee. They expanded the tournament, and it's created a lot more storylines. You get to see nations that are normally not in the World Cup get their chance on the big stage. That's why we need to expand the bowl games for football. We need to expand the basketball tournament. This is what makes it great. So in World Cup, man, 48, this is a great formula.
Okay, we go from that. Let's zero in on what's going on at home. Here comes Team USA.
Is Pulisic still hurt? What's going on with him, Lee?
Well, Team USA is going to play Australia tomorrow night up in Seattle. Christian Pulisic has not practiced with his side this week because of the calf issue. I did watch video of Pulisic doing running, planting, cutting, but he has not gone the length of the pitch on breaks, things of that nature. We found out that Pulisic got hurt prior to the first game. Pulisic got hurt in practice, came back, played the first half in the amazing 45 minutes of fireworks that Team USA had in their opening game against Paraguay, where they dominated. But the calf flared on him. So they rested him, treated him. Now, it's been a week since they've played. So I don't know whether he starts. Mauricio Pochettino is not talking to the media about Pulisic per se, except with the phrase day-to-day. Does he not start? Can they rest him for another week to get to the third game? Do they need him against Australia? If they play him, how long do they play him? Or are they taking a big risk? So that's a big question. What's not to be questioned is the fact that there's a lot of firepower around Pulisic on that American side. And who is Australia? The Socceroos. They've got players from everywhere. A lot of guys whose families have moved to Australia. They got guys that are playing in the English Premier League, in the second division in England, guys playing in Germany, guys playing in Italy. They don't have a lot of firepower. Their best goal scorer is Nestor Irankora. He plays for Watford in the second division in England. They've got a great legendary player in their own country. His name is Matthew Lekic. He's on his fourth World Cup. And they have a massively big group of fullbacks, a.k.a. defenders, in front of their keeper, led by a 6'4" Italian by the name of Chris Valpedo. And it's really interesting. They have a new coach who was hired right in the middle of qualifying. As they were going through the CONCACAF tournaments, they weren't playing very well. And Australia fired its coach and named Tony Popovic as their head coach right in the middle of qualifying, and he got them on the right track. So I don't know that they have firepower to keep up with Team USA, but they are big and they are physical, and they got some veteran players. So very unique game. But I'd feel much more confident if we knew Pulisic was 100% green light go. We don't know that at this point, John.
My bet is that Pulisic plays for sure. But the good news is that we don't need to rely on him. You know, there's plenty of other players that we've seen that can move the ball, that can score, you know. So if Pulisic only plays part of a game, that's fine, you know, as long as he can work through the injury. But you know, it's funny how Australia refers to their team as the Socceroos. And I always thought America was the only nation in the world that used that word soccer. So at least we got a brother, you know, that seems to have this oddball term for this sport that everyone else calls football. Yeah, maybe it's because Australia has their own version of football. Maybe that's why they call them Socceroos too.
Here's the most important aspect about tomorrow night. If Team USA wins, that's 6 points in standings, group play. They won't be caught. They'll be going to the group of 16. That is huge. But is it worth the risk of getting Pulisic further injured? Because calf injuries take time to heal, and you don't want to aggravate those calf injuries. But boy, if they could get another victory tomorrow, that'd be 6 points in their pocket. Nobody's going to catch them in group play then.
Yeah, I think, isn't there a round of 32 that is the first level before you get to the 16?
Right.
I think it is, and I think there's like play-in games essentially. Yeah, America's in a great spot to, you know, put their stamp on this group play with a big win tomorrow night. I mean, it's going to be exciting. America was so excited about the last game. You know, USA, Australia is going to be, you know, red, white, and blue all over America again.
Okay, you're a soccer fan. We've done our job. We gave you our World Cup preview last week. Want to hear your comments about the superstars that we're watching, your comments on the broadcast, your comments on Team USA and Pulisic. John, that's not the only big story this week. Holy cow. Do you see what's coming up right after we're done with the weekend? What's going to happen on Monday? It's called the NBA draft.
Oh, my God. There's a lot going on, Lee.
Yeah, it really is. First of all, let's talk about the stories leading into the draft. The draft is coming on Monday and Tuesday, but the trade rumors are just everywhere. And right now, the trade rumors are overwhelming all the conversation about the NBA draft. What are the Lakers going to do? This is the latest involving the Lakers, and it involves a trade. Luka Doncic evidently has told Rob Pelinka, as they've had off-season dialogue, what he thinks is important to this team. And what he thinks is important is to get him a grade A center in the starting lineup. None of this riffraff, these refugees, a grade A center. Lakers are talking to the Utah Jazz about a deal for Walker Kessler. Kessler at 7'2", pretty solid. He's never been an all-star, but he can score, he can board, he grinds. He's not the athlete that some of the other big men in the league is, but what he is a block of cement who plays on the post and can score and is very, very active. Kessler is a restricted free agent, far away and unable to get a deal done with Utah from a dollar standpoint. This guy scores. Now, the huge question is, what is the price tag? The Lakers have 3 number 1 picks that, effective this weekend, they can use as trade bait. They're in alternating years. They're down road. Lakers will probably have to part with 2 of the number 1s, plus a veteran player. I was told Utah wants Rui Hachimura. I don't know that there's anything else on that Laker roster that would really be a difference maker, but Hachimura, I think, is a rock-solid player. So Kessler comes into play on the post with maybe LeBron, with Austin Reeves, with Luka. That's not a bad mix. And Utah just continues to build with stockpiling more number 1 draft picks, and obviously with the young players that they have drafted. So this bears watching. That is one big topic. Now, obviously the Lakers still have to have this dialogue And they've opened talks. I was told they opened talks midweek with LeBron James and his agent, Rich Paul, to talk about the dollar value of a contract. They want a decision from LeBron. Do you want to stay? Do you want to go? Do you want to do a sign and trade? What are you willing to play here for? What are you willing to use as a sign and trade? Where would you like to go? Because you have the right to name the teams. So that bears watching. In the Austin Reeves situation, by the end of the weekend, he's going to opt out of his contract, and he'll be a street free agent, and the Lakers are going to try to get him re-signed. So that's all things Lakers. As I say, all this trade stuff has overwhelmed the NBA draft coverage. The Clippers are involved in these trade talks with Boston and with Milwaukee. 3-team conversation. I find this hard to believe, but Boston is willing to part with Jaylen Brown. They want a third team, though, to make this deal come together. The Clippers would get guard Jaylen Brown to go with Darius Garland. But the Clippers would have to give up Kawhi Leonard in a package to Milwaukee. Milwaukee would get Kawhi, 2 number 1 draft picks, which includes the Clippers' number 5 pick. It'd be Kawhi at number 5, Boston is number 1, and Neemias Queta, the young setter who's grown into playing in the NBA. And Giannis would go to the Boston Celtics. Now, Boston and Miami evidently are the last 2 that are in the bidding, and it looks like Milwaukee is just standing firm. We want 5 for 1. Give me the combination, the best offer you can in a 5 for 1 deal. But what kind of Clippers team would we have if Kawhi is traded in the final year of his deal as part of this transaction with the 5th pick in the draft? Yes, you'd get a really great guard in Jaylen Brown to go with Darius Garland, but who else would you have that would be able to play for the Clippers? I don't know that I buy that. So, John, the floor belongs to you. Take it to the hoop, slam dunk me an opinion on the Lakers-Utah trade, what the Clippers, Boston, Milwaukee are all talking about.
Now, didn't we already talk about Walker Kessler last year? Weren't there like rumors of him going to the Lakers? That deal never kind of got done.
Well, he got hurt, played 5 games into the season, suffered a major injury, missed the whole rest of the season. Guy's a talent, though. You go back and look at his numbers. They're pretty decent for a big man. And again, he's a different type of big man. He's more post-player big man than he is leaper, rim protector. But the dude rebounds and the dude does score. You like that transaction?
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know a lot about that player particularly, but DeAndre Ayton isn't going to be the answer. I mean, they've got to get some other guy in there. It's interesting. In the other deal, you're talking about Neemias Queta, and I remember he played at Utah State, and he is a very good, very talented big man. Got a really nice shot as well, not just like a block of concrete down there, So, but isn't the Jazz? Isn't that Danny Ainge? I remember he was like stockpiling so many number 1 picks. I mean, he must have a lot of capital to trade if he wants.
Yeah, and of course he's made some trades in last year too. But they're a long way away from being a really, really good team. They need strength in numbers more than they need anything else. What about the Clipper part of this conversation? What is life like? I mean, if you trade Kawhi away, you've already traded Harden away. You traded Zubac away. What does your roster look like if you bring Jaylen Brown in, but you have no other players, plus him and Garland?
They traded Harden away before he got busted for having a weapon.
Yep.
But I don't understand how Kawhi could be actively involved in trade talks when there's talk of him having his contract terminated, being suspended in the league, all these other different rumors. It just seems like you got to sort out the commissioner's office situation before you can really talk about trading him.
I concur with you. And that's another hidden part of any conversation going towards Monday night in the first round of the draft, which is there a decision coming on Kawhi? Does that decision impact this year's number 1 draft picks that the Clippers might hold? Does it impact Kawhi being under contract or having his contract voided? We just don't know. So, I mean, who knows? Friday, Saturday, Sunday might bring a decision from the league office with Kawhi, but Kawhi's name's being tossed out there. And it's not, I don't think that the Clippers have any inside information that they're going to be found innocent of anything. And he is your player. You can do what you want with your player. because they would have announced it by this point in time. So you're correct. You're correct. We're waiting to see what that decision is like. So you're a basketball fan, looking for Laker fans, looking for Clippers people. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Be specific because we're giving you all the latest information there is. And let's talk about the hoops, and let's talk about Monday's draft and what's going to happen. John, tell you, the top 10 players, they all are gems. This is the collective group at the top of the draft board. If the board was to sit there, and these right now are the top 6 picks, the way people think it's going to go. I don't think anybody gets a bad player here. The unique player situation would be in Memphis because they're still stuck with Ja Morant. And there are rumors that there are a lot of people talking to them about Morant, but Memphis would have to give up its pick to get other picks. And by the way, you take Morant as part of the deal. So the Memphis pick right now is the iffy pick. Chicago's pick was on the block, but that's a new coaching staff. I think they're going to take Caleb Williams out of North Carolina. Clippers just brought in Wagler, the guard out of Illinois, for a private workout and a meeting. Brooklyn, whose name has been mentioned in terms of free agency and all kinds of other stuff, looks as if they're going to take the kid guard out of Arkansas, Acuff. But the top 2 or 3 picks, D Petersen, Boozer, they kind of look like locks. So the Memphis domino, if that falls and that pick is traded as part of a Ja Morant goodbye deal, then we'll find out if the whole first round changes or somebody else comes in and takes a different player. But everybody that I've conversed with is of the opinion there's not much difference between player 1 and player 10 at the top of the draft board. These are all really good basketball players. What do you think?
You know, I'm noticing that there aren't any international players on that list, Lee. And usually these names come up in the NBA draft that are guys I've never heard of, that are playing in Germany or in France or Spain. So we'll find out about that. But, this, how do you say that? Dybanstsa? That's the kid that was at BYU. And he was a hell of a talent. I think he was the number 1 most highly paid NIL talent in America last year as well. So let's see what he can do on the big stage. And it's interesting that Boozer is 3 because everyone was raving about him, as far as being one of the top players in the league. So I'm surprised Boozer doesn't go up higher on this list.
Well, Boozer's not a legitimate stud in terms of being he's not a leaper. And I think his offensive game probably leaves a little bit to be desired. It's interesting. Caleb Williams, now he missed the back third of the season at North Carolina. He's a 6'9" jumping jack forward, but his game is not polished. He's just raw. He's a one-and-done type guy. I'll throw some other names at you. You mentioned foreigners, etc. The number 7 pick on the board belongs to Golden State, and they're really enthralled with the Di Mara from the University of Michigan. Oklahoma City, which has done so well in the draft, John, awful lot of conversation about him and Yax Lindenborg from the University of Michigan. Denver, which has had a lot of injury problems a little bit later in the first round, they're looking at Koa Pete, who was in the draft, thought about leaving, and decided to stay rather than go back to the University of Arizona. He could go to Denver. And Cleveland is looking at Terrace Reed. That's that late developing big guy at the University of Connecticut. So, like I say, there's some really good basketball players. Monday, once we clear the weekend and trade rumors, Monday's first round, that's going to be fun. Okay,
wait a minute, Lee. Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Timeout?
You want timeout?
Yeah, a timeout. Is the quarterback for the Chicago Bears in this draft, Lee? What are you talking about, Caleb Williams? Is it Wilson?
I'm sorry, Wilson. I said Williams? No. I got a lot of stuff goes through this brain.
I know it's amazing how much data you process.
Caleb Wilson, all 6'9", outstanding jumping jack shooting forward. It's Caleb Wilson. Shame on me, but I still know everything about everything.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. Hey, we get to halftime. This podcast is on the air because we would not let technology screw this podcast up, even though we're a little bit delayed getting on the air. But I told you. John promised me no foobar doing this podcast on remotes, so we haven't any foobar that's been fatal yet. We're trying really hard. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. They've been in business for more than 100 years. You think Dixieline, you think lumber, building houses. But, John, Dixieline is known for so many other things.
Yeah, it's like your local hardware store in your neighborhood. You know, they've got the staff there. They'll help you with get tools, hardware, nuts and bolts, hinges, door locks for your front door. They'll even build custom doors for you. They represent all of the primary manufacturers of doors like Geldwen and La Cantina and all the big brands. So if you have a need for fixing doors in your house, you want to replace your doors, you want to get new sliding glass doors, Dixieline could set you up. So they're great for the homeowner, also great for the builder and the contractor. Been in business 100 years, or actually more than 100. Someone you can trust in San Diego County, Lee.
Dixieline Lumber. By the way, go to DixieLine.com just to see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime on our Thursday podcast, going towards a great sports weekend. John, for everybody who's with us on live stream who's never participated before, damn it, what's wrong with you? You need to be with us in Fans Forum. John, explain to them how Fans Forum in the chat box works.
Yeah. Damn it, Sean Lee. Okay, so people are already piling in right now. I see Chris, who I haven't seen here in a while. I said there's John and Callan. Music to my ears. Johnny is in the list. Emmanuel, Ramon, Showtime, Flash, Bainey. Everyone's piling in, Lee. They've all got questions for you in the world of sports. You can get involved. You got to comment. You got to take a corner kick for Hacksaw. Just drop your hot take in the live chat, Facebook, X, or YouTube. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
Did you say piling in or about to pile on? Or both?
I think a little bit of both.
Listen, I write about sports every day of the week. If you have never sampled my website, what the hell's wrong with you? Go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I think you'll really like the written package that I present every day, the best 15 minutes in sports, as well as my one man's opinion column. And now, because we redesigned my website just before John decided to redesign his castle, we make available all the videos, including what I do on KUSI TV, available right on the homepage. So sample the website. Now, on the website, there's an orange box in the lower right-hand corner. I want you to consider joining Hacksaw's Insiders Group. When you become a member of the Insiders Group, you'll get 2 newsletters a day. John and I send out one in the morning, one in the late afternoon. Think you'll really like the content in the newsletters. So make sure you sign up. That's absolutely free. You can follow us, of course, on Twitter, on social media, at Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button. I want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 for the most part. And, of course, subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel, every time there is new video posted, you will get an alert vis-a-vis your email. So make sure you subscribe there. On top of that, help us grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It helps us grow this a great deal. John, everybody says, love your sports talk show. Need to do more of this stuff. So I was thinking about the only thing missing when we're doing this podcast. Maybe I should invoke a hacksawism. We should just start the podcast with, here's what's going on in the world of sports. Here's what Lee Hamilton thinks. Damn it.
Yes. I mean, you do a little bit too many commercials, I think, in the middle of our live stream. But, dude, you are a fire hose of sports content, man. Just keep it coming, man. Just keep it coming.
Okay. We go to the second half. Well, let's talk college football, because this story, it looks like it may be going away. But great headline, John. Red Raiders football forever stained. This thing has turned so quickly and so forcefully, and there's still a lot of anger, the aftermath of the whole Brendan Sorsby scandal. The NCAA presented a 47-page document to a judge on the State Court of Appeals, and they proposed that if Brendan Sorsby and Texas Tech went ahead with plans to play him, because Sorsby had gotten an injunction from a local judge, they were prepared to sanction $40 million in damages against Texas Tech. And within 12 hours after that case was presented before a Texas Court of Appeals judge. Texas Tech met with SORSBY and said, you're not going to play here this year. The NCAA in the 47-page document said that if Texas Tech played SORSBY, despite the fact he had violated bylaw 3.6 gambling on games, they would forfeit the TV contract and all the shared revenue that Texas Tech was going to get from the Big 12 contract. They would then ban Texas Tech from the championship game. They would strip them of any conference bowl money that is supposed to be shared with Big 12 members. And obviously, they would probably take legal action against the president and the chancellor. And there's history there because the NCAA forced out the president of Baylor and the head football coach at Baylor for that sex scandal cover-up a group of years ago, the Art Briles era. So that was all contained in the 47-page document that was filed on Monday. And by Monday night, they met with SORSBY, and early Tuesday, SORSBY announced he was leaving the university. But the bitterness is not over. There's a huge amount of bitterness. There are schools that say they're going to cancel their contracts to play Texas Tech in football and in basketball. The agent representing SORSBY says the world is ganged up on my client. Well, excuse me. Your client placed 9,000 bets on sporting events in a 4-year span. The agent then said the University of Cincinnati knew SORSBY had been betting on games for 2 years and did absolutely nothing. This morning, the university responded, saying there was a red flag contact made by one of the sports betting groups, saying there may have been some issues with an account that SORSBY had with bets being placed on it. Cincinnati met with SORSBY before he ever played a game with them, and he flat out lied to them. And the University of Cincinnati says that SORSBY then proceeded to use friends to place tons of bets for him on secret accounts under different pseudonyms. Really ugly story. He is now filing for the NFL supplemental draft. Now there's huge red flags with him there. Is the NFL going to take legal action against SORSBY for what he did betting on college football, a.k.a. the Art Schlichter situation or the Calvin Ridley situation? And then what NFL team would be interested in this quarterback? Well, Brendan SORSBY, over 8,400 all-purpose yards at Indiana and at Texas Tech through 82 touchdowns. Cleveland, though, has said absolutely not. The Browns say they will not use a supplemental draft pick on SORSBY. However, Carolina, the Arizona Cardinals, Minnesota, and Miami have all been mentioned as teams that would consider drafting SORSBY with a supplemental draft pick. And the supplemental draft pick would be held sometime in July. If he gets drafted, say you used a third-round pick on him, you'd forfeit a third-round pick in next year's draft to take SORSBY. Now, it'll be interesting to see if any clubs are going to work him out before the supplemental draft. Obviously, clubs probably will demand access to have private meetings with SORSBY to talk about the scandal that he got himself involved into. John, the bitterness is not going away. Tell you what, Texas Tech, they got a stain on their reputation now. I don't think it's going to go away forever. This is pretty sleazy what the Big Cigars did, what that kid did, what Tech initially did before they were threatened. And how about the Big 12? $40 million in sanctions if they put that kid on the football field. John, go ahead.
Integrity wins, Lee. Integrity wins, and for once, So I'm glad the way that the Big 12 and all the other universities stood up. They were firm. They were calling out their moral values and also calling out the letter of the law. Now, do you think this situation could have been handled more efficiently if the NCAA had the antitrust exemption?
Hell yes. It would have never gotten to this point in time because there would have been a cap on NIL money. Obviously, they could have conducted their own investigation because they would then, with the antitrust exemption, You can do depositions, and you will have authority to take whatever sanctions you want against the individual. And by the way, it's interesting you bring that up, because today, Ted Cruz's Save the College Football proposal has been moved from committee, will be voted on by the Senate sometime in the next week, and virtually every professional organization in pro sports, baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, women's basketball, have all asked Congress to grant the NCAA the antitrust exemption.
Interesting. I will see if they end up bribing any of these politicians, greasing their palms, right, Lee, to get the deal done. But I want that antitrust exemption to be blown out of the water. I want them to be given the exemption, because I think they need to be able to police their own, and this is a classic example of it.
What do you do about drafting SORSBY with a supplemental pick? Do you touch him? Is he too toxic? There's no doubt that there is talent, but obviously there's a mental health issue. There's an addiction issue. What do you think?
Yeah, if I'm especially, can you imagine the Browns taking him? I mean, with the circus of the quarterback room that they already have with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur, and then, you still have Dylan Gabriel looming around. So that would be dumb for the Browns to take a gamble on this guy. I just think dude needs to suffer the consequences of his own choices. And if that means he doesn't get picked at all, then, that's bad on you. I mean, you made your bed. Maybe he will end up playing in Canada or somewhere else.
Should the NFL do an intervention and saying there's too much baggage here? You must sit a year before we'll let you come to the draft? What do you think the National Football League stance should be?
If maybe they need to suspend him, or maybe just say, this guy's got a black check mark on his record. He's not eligible. But in the end, I would just hope that the teams in the NFL would also have integrity and not touch this guy. Because, if you're an NFL franchise and you draft him, I don't care if it's in a supplemental draft or not, it's going to be a damage to your brand image. And the fans aren't going to like it, especially your rival fans are going to really hate you. This guy is toxic. You got to stay away.
Okay, somebody's got an opinion on the SORSBY case, what the NCAA did and threatened, how Texas Tech caved in, and all this obviously has been triggered by the amount of money that the big cigars, the big boosters from Texas Tech, buy in players. Feel free, Fans Forum chat box is open for business. We go from that, it's the offseason of hockey, but damn, NHL draft is just around the corner, free agency is just around the corner, and trade rumors, John, are everywhere. And we got the coaching carousel too.
Yeah, the coaches' situation in the NHL has been crazy.
Let's just talk about the offseason has begun in the National Football League, and this was a real stunner. The Toronto Maple Leafs, who of course hired a very controversial general manager in John Chaika, hired a very strange head coach, just fired from the LA Kings, Jim Hillier. No one saw this coming. They interviewed 20 different guys. They had an opportunity at the last minute to interview Bruce Cassidy of Las Vegas and did not. They interviewed a wide variety of other guys who've had success some other places, and guys with no coaching experience too. Like I say, they touched bases with a lot of people. They hire Jim Hillier. Now, he did a decent job with the Kings in the regular season. He had 94 wins. I think his record was like 94, 54, and 21. One of the best defensive strategists in the league. He's a big analytics guy. The team couldn't score goals. They got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs 4 straight years. Jim Hillier goes to the Maple Leafs. That hiring has not been well received in Toronto, but he's the guy. Edmonton. This story broke early this morning. The National Hockey League reviewed the set of circumstances, the Mike Babcock getting fired in a couple different places, including his interactions with Columbus Blue Jackets players, in which he got axed before he ever coached the first game. He's been going to be hired by the Edmonton Oilers. He was cleared by the National Hockey League in the early morning hours today. Edmonton was told, you can interview him. Guy's got a great track record, but he self-destructed everywhere. And there's a general consensus that he is a real bully. But the ownership of Edmonton's of the opinion, we need that type of leadership to make this a better roster. So that's kind of a fascinating story. Las Vegas, what a surprise. John Tortorella not retained. 24 hours after they knocked out of the playoffs, they informed him there would be no negotiations about a contract extension, despite the fact Torts went 21-8-1 when he took over in midseason and drove them through postseason. And, of course, lost to Carolina. Vegas hired Ryan Craig as their new head coach. He coached their American Hockey League team in the AHL out here on the West Coast. Pretty good minor league head coach. Long relationship with Brad McCrimmon, the general manager. They're moving forward without Tortorella. Ducks, this hurts. Anaheim has lost the big defenseman they traded for at the deadline that was a massive difference maker on their blue line. John Carlson has informed the Ducks he won't negotiate with them as a free agent. 37-year-old scoring defenseman, stay-at-home defenseman, leadership defenseman, wants to go back to the East Coast, play in the Eastern Conference. Report he's talking maybe going back to Washington, although the price tag is going to be high at $10 million per year. That's what he wants. He's also talking to Tampa Bay. He might be talking to the Boston Bruins. That's a big setback for the Ducks because, John, they traded this year's number one to get him at the deadline, and it turned out to be a rental. I had assumed and I had hoped he'd stay here for a couple more years as a long-term investment. So that's a big setback. Speaking of the Ducks, another piece of bad news this week. Today, confirmed Troy Terry, their young veteran right winger, 20-plus goal scorer, has been hurt, major hip surgery. He is going to be out 6 months. He won't be available till December or January at the earliest. That's a big setback not to have Troy Terry. I wonder if that impacts the decision they were about to make, maybe to trade Mason McTavish in a draft day deal. So Ducks have had a tough week in the headlines. And this is a shocker to me. I grew up watching a Hockey Night in Canada on the CBC. That's where I cut my teeth. That's where I learned the sport. They've been televising NHL games on CBC under the banner Hockey Night in Canada since 1952. CBC, unable to work out a sublet deal with Sportsnet Canada, which owns the TV rights for the entire league. CBC has walked away from the NHL. There will be no Hockey Night in Canada on free TV across Canada. Now, Sportsnet obviously will still have the games, but that's all subscription. The other piece of that angle, in the province of Quebec, where they do speak French, there will be no French network carrying hockey on Saturday nights. No French network for the Montreal Canadiens, because Hockey Night in Canada was the only one doing the games in French for the French citizenry in the province of Quebec and in the Canadian Maritimes. It's a big setback. I mean, this is so foremost. This, John, this is like announcing on Monday that Monday Night Football is going away. There won't be any more Monday Night Football, and you can't use the logos, the sounders, or all that. To me, it's just shocking. John, that's a Hockey Notebook. An opinion, please.
Well, isn't that just the studio show? I mean, didn't the NBA move, Barkley and Kenny the Jet and, Ernie and Shaq from TNT to ESPN? Why can't Hockey Night in Canada move to the other network? And frankly, why not make a Hockey Night in North America? I think you've talked about this show before with me, and it sounds very interesting. It'd be great if they had this for, the whole league.
Except that the CBC owns the brand. Hockey Night in Canada will not make it available. And Sportsnet does their own shows, and their shows are nothing equal to the content and the uniqueness and the style of Hockey Night in Canada. I mean, I grew up. I'll throw names at you that you would not recognize because you're not one of us. You're not like me. But those who have followed hockey will remember Foster Hewitt, will remember Danny Gallivan, will remember Howie Meeker, will remember Don Cherry, will remember McLean, and will remember the entourage of current guys who've made up the hot stove between period show and all that. All those guys are gone. None of those guys are going to work for Sportsnet at this point because Sportsnet has its own package, and their package is very different from what Hockey Night in Canada provided. So you got that. You want to talk about the coaching hires? You want to talk about the bad week of news for the Ducks?
Well, the Ducks seemed like they didn't do their homework when they made that trade right at the deadline in last season. Wouldn't you have already asked the guy if he was going to be up for signing an extension?
I don't think they asked him when he first got there. He played really well. He was a stabilizer on the back end. He's a leader. He's a good citizen. Oh, what a tough blow. But he's an East Coast guy, wanted to be close to his family. And by the way, the price tag's $10 million. I mean, he was making 8.9, I think, and he wants 10. And as I said, that the Ducks have 8 free agents and restricted free agents they have to account for. They got a lot of money going to their young players they're going to have to lock down. So, but he did not even want to negotiate. He just wants to go back to the East Coast. That's a tough setback.
Yeah. And then what's the deal with the coach? Explain this to me, because the Golden Knights fired their previous coach, but they've kept him off limits from getting interviews, or they have to get permission so he can interview elsewhere. What's the deal? Or is he maybe because he's still being paid by the Golden Knights?
They owe him $5 million on the last year of the contract. And, the general consensus is you didn't want this guy, grant this guy permission to go talk other places. And instead, they didn't allow anybody during the playoffs to talk to Bruce Cassidy. And since then, they've allowed one team got permission to talk to Bruce Cassidy, and it was the Maple Leafs, and the Maple Leafs never made the phone call. They have the right, according to the league, to say who Cassidy can interview with. And at the end of the day, Vegas did not want Cassidy to interview with the LA Kings. And they did not grant Edmonton permission to talk to him. Why? Because they're in the Western Conference. I think that's really, really unfair. And Cassidy came back and said, guys, I'll forfeit the $5 million that you owe me on my contract next year. I want to coach. Let me leave. And they have not given him approval to talk to anybody. And McCrimmon, who's taken a lot of heat around the NHL, McCrimmon said, I'll make the decision on a club-by-club basis. Well, all the jobs now are pretty much filled. So they owe Cassidy $5 million. But why are they why is there so much retribution against Bruce Cassidy? He did a good job. At the end, they wanted a change in the voice in the room and a direction. Tortorella came in, did a good job. Why are you acting this way towards Bruce Cassidy? You kind of stunned?
Grudge mode. That's what it sounds like to me. There's some bad blood here. But I would think that if from Vegas's perspective, if he got hired somewhere else, wouldn't they be able to offload that last year of the contract? I mean, that's kind of how it works with players.
Exactly. And he said, you can keep the $5 million. Just let me talk to the people who have job openings.
Yeah.
Never, ever got a chance. So you're into hockey. Is there anybody who's a transplanted Canadian? Anybody on the old Canada Network? What's your response to the passing, if you will, of Hockey Night in Canada on the CBC? Just, my heart sank. And again, I'm old school, but I grew up with it. I identified with it.
Well, I saw the picture of Don Cherry. I mean, he looks like a Bob Uecker type, kind of the flashy, crazy plaid jacket kind of thing.
Exactly. Okay, final topic on the table here on our Thursday podcast. We're talking a little golf, and then we're going to talk about the good old boys coming to San Diego.
Yeah, high-speed sports wire. I saw the golf. It's kind of cloudy out there on the East Coast.
They are playing the U.S. Open at Shinnecock out on Southampton, Long Island, out on the edge. That course is phenomenal. It's right on the ocean, and they normally have high winds. And today, they had fog, more fog, 2 hours worth of fog. They are so far behind in the first round, John, these guys are not going to be able to complete their first round. As of 2 o'clock this afternoon, there were still guys who would get to tee off. So there'll be a lot of guys playing 36 holes tomorrow, and who knows what it's going to be like tomorrow. But there is so much history, high winds, slick greens, and fog. 126th U.S. Open at Shinnecock and Southampton. The golfers just talked about the course. The favorite phrase of the golfers, energy draining golf. Stress level shots. We can't get away from the history. This is the fourth U.S. Open that's been held at Shinnecock, John. In the first three Opens at Shinnecock, only 3 golfers have broken par to win. 3 out of 3 years of golf. How stunning is that? And there's so many storylines going in here. You know, as brilliant as Scotty Scheffler has been, John, he does not have a win in 11 tournaments this season. Now, if he could win this, he would complete the true Grand Slam. He'd have won each of the majors. But he's winless so far this season. Rory McIlroy is going for his second Grand Slam of this year after having won the Masters. Now, he's playing kind of a trimmed-down, streamlined schedule. He's not playing as often as the past. Xander Schauffele, the Aztec, he's going for his third Grand Slam of a very young career. He's playing a lot better now that he's totally healthy. Hot name is Wyndham Clark. He's an American. He won at Byron Nelson. He's always played to be maybe in the top 5 or top 10 in a whole bunch of these tournaments. And he finished third at the Memorial. Another guy to keep an eye on is Matt Fitzpatrick. He's won 3 events already this year on the tour. His career is just taking a big jump. Brooks Koepka, the LIV refugee, he's here, he's playing, but he's been hurt. There were fears that he had a blood clot in his arm, John. He was examined early in the week. He's got problems with numbness in his hand. And at this point, they've not found what's triggering it. It might be a pinched nerve. Bryson DeChambeau from LIV is here. But boy, he's played really poorly since coming back stateside playing in the major tournaments. He just doesn't seem to be the same golfer right now. So, you know, the big argument about the U.S. Open, is it a golf course? Why have you made it an obstacle course? Tell you what, the rough is unbelievably high. The courses are tight. The pin placements are wicked, especially on Saturday, Sunday. And now you got the wind and you got fog on Southampton, Long Island. I mean, this is fun to watch. Pay attention to it. It's going to be drama. And there's a lot of guys who are going to be shooting in the red rather than the green on the leaderboard. It's historically just a great tournament historically. Damn hard tournament.
Yeah, just a couple of questions for you, Lee. First of all, did you notice that the leaderboard today, I saw there was an amateur in second place and another amateur, I think, a little further down the board, definitely in the top 10. That's pretty cool. But where you say this course is way on the eastern end of Long Island, where is this course in relation to the area where you grew up on Long Island?
Well, this is Southampton, which is the farthest end on the southern point of Long Island, right on the ocean. I grew up on the North Shore, probably 25 miles northwest, up on the North Shore. Southampton is down at the bottom.
Okay, all right.
That's where people like you would hang out. It's the home of the rich and the famous, the Hamptons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right, Lee. All right, keep going. What's up with NASCAR?
Oh, the good old boys are coming here. They're coming to Coronado. It's going to be a great weekend. We've never had a true NASCAR race in San Diego. Here comes, they're calling it Race the Base 250, the 250-mile race, 16 turns, 3.4-mile course built on the landing strips and the surrounding roads at North Island in Coronado. You'll have the truck race, you'll have the O'Reilly Auto Parts Developmental Series race, and then Sunday afternoon, you'll have the good old boys, the NASCAR guys, who will come in here. To me, the most stunning thing, these drivers have virtually no information about this track. They're going to have only 50 minutes of practice time on this track to get their cars set up. They say the thing is bumpy. The cars are going to bottom out. You have to be worried about sliding. You have to worry about breaking your suspension. Have to worry about where the hell am I going to pass on a tight road course, if you will. There's some red-hot drivers coming in. And those who are NASCAR fans, a.k.a. rednecks, you'll identify with these guys. Denny Hamlin has won 3 races in a row. Tyler Reddick with the Michael Jordan team, if you remember, he won the first 3 races of the season. He won 4 the first 5 weeks on the tour. Chase Elliott, the son of the legendary Bill Elliott, great driver on roads. He's got 7 career wins. But the hottest name is a guy out of New Zealand, Shane van Gisbergen. He's won 7 road course races in 2 years. He's never won on an oval. For some reason, he knows how to drive road courses. That is a name worth watching. Shane van Gisbergen. It's going to be fun. And John, there is so much history to NASCAR. This thing started in 1948. The Beaufrance family founded stock car racing. Their first races, John, were on a beach at Daytona. I saw pictures, I've seen videos of them racing on the beaches with the ocean right out there. Driving your dad's 1950 Hudson Hornet, Chryslers, DeSotos. I mean, it's hilarious.
Your father's Cadillac.
That's right. And NASCAR has brought us Richard Petty and his 200 career wins. It's brought us the life and the death of Dale Earnhardt. It's brought us Jeff Gordon's greatness. It's brought us our own Jimmy Johnson of San Diego out of El Cajon. 7 points championships. It's brought us a driver who won not only NASCAR points, but the Indy Points Championship, the greatness of Tony Stewart. And man, there are so many historical names. The Alabama Gang, led by Bobby and Davey Allison, and a bunch of rum runners, led by Junior Johnson, who did prison time in the 1940s and came back to drive and to win. And the legendary who just passed, Ned Jarrett. And, there's a lot of stock car history here in San Diego County and in Southern California. They started racing midgets at Gilmore Stadium in Los Angeles, which was home of the Hollywood Stars baseball team. And they raced at a place called Ascot Park. It was only open for 2 years. It was closed because 24 drivers died in 2 years of racing at Ascot Park. More recently, Riverside, great road course. That operated for about 20 years. Ontario Motor Speedway, it was only open for 10 years. Cajon Speedway, legendary track from 1961 into the 2000s, much smaller track. And of course, the super speedway that was at Fontana, California Speedway, which is finally closed, big track, drew well early, cost of operation was through the roof. They closed it down with the idea they're going to make it a shorter track, and the whole economy changed, and it's never reopened at this point in time. But at the end of the day, they needed a spot on the NASCAR calendar on the West Coast. They're up at Laguna Seca, obviously in the Bay Area, and they're coming to San Diego to run at Coronado. It's going to be so cool, but this is such a great unknown. And John, this is a sport with unbelievable history to it. I'm sorry, I apologize in advance. There's a little bit of redneck in my DNA because I grew up on stock car racing on Long Island. John, floor it. Go ahead. Green flag.
Floor it. All right. Yeah. I mean, the good old boys, the chewing tobacco and drinking beer, descending on the beautiful beaches of Coronado. And I got to believe some of these Coronado hoity-toities are going to get really upset with the disruption of their traffic and all the noise. But I've been out on North Island, and that tarmac out there is just huge. I mean, it's just, so I'd imagine they're going to, I don't know, carve like some little streets in the middle of the tarmac. But I just think the scenery for this has the potential to be fabulous, with the blue ocean, the blue bay, the military, ships, and is the race going over the Coronado Bridge? Is that part of this? I mean, if so, that just sounds wonderful.
No, we talked about that. You and I talked about that when the idea of the race first was formed. I wondered where the hell would they run it? Could we incorporate the Coronado Bridge? But they can't. But they built with barriers and everything, 16-turn course on the tarmac and on streets right there around Coronado. And by the way, you'll be able to watch the Saturday race on CW6 for race car fans. That's going to be televised locally. The Sunday race is going to be on Prime. So if you have the subscription, You'll be able to watch the NASCAR 250, as they say, race the base. That's the phrase they're using on Sunday, but that'll be on Prime. But you'll get a sneak preview with the developmental series, the Riley Auto Parts developmental series, which is all the young drivers. They're going to run that race, and it'll be televised on CW6.
No relation. Riley.
You got it. Okay, those are topics on the table. We've done our job. We put a lot of topics out there for you to discuss. We want you to do yours. Feel free to jump on board. We start with baseball because we are baseball-centric, looking for soccer fan to hit me a corner kick with an opinion. Who wants to talk about the NBA draft, which is Monday? We'll talk all things, if you want, about the mess at Texas Tech. Feel free, jump on board NHL hockey and want to hear what you've got to say. Any good old boy, redneck, NASCAR, rum running fans. The history of NASCAR, John, is so freaking unbelievable. I've got books in my bookcases. Next time you come visit, I'll pull my NASCAR books, the historical picture books. You won't believe it.
Rum runners. Well, I wonder if the Kennedy family was in NASCAR. Maybe not. Yeah. Hey, let's kick off Fans Forum. Let's start off with Chris. We haven't heard from him in a while. Hey, best thing to ensure the Padres a chance for the playoffs is to DFA Manny, I don't hustle Machado.
Nah, that'll never happen. A, because they owe him all this money. B, they can't trade him because they owe him all this money. C, it's up to him to resurrect his career. He's just one of a bunch of different problems. But I will say this, John, it's really interesting to me how much angst is being directed at Manny Machado. Maybe it's just strictly on social media, but I bet we've had more negative Machado comments in the Fans Forum chat box than pro Machado comments. And that's kind of hard to believe considering historically what he's done statistically in his career. Now, maybe this is grudge mode because he's had some crummy half seasons and his postseasons have really been very, very disappointing. You get the same sense, same read I do?
Yeah, I mean, Manny's getting all the heat, but it's deserved. I mean, he's not performing. He's not even performing anywhere near his contract value, but dude needs to step it up. I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe the bat speed, like you were saying, is not there. Maybe the eyesight. Everyone's got a theory about Manny. But some of the Manny criticism, let's be real, are coming from Dodger fans that are just popping off, looking for an opportunity to bomb the Padres. But, yeah, I mean, they're not going to DFA Manny. I mean, I don't even see how they could even move any of those big contracts. I mean, you think you're going to trade Xander? You're not going to just DFA a guy, and you'd be on the hook for $280 million over the next 7 years.
Well, the only way you could make a transaction, if you thought any of these guys were movable, is you would have to pay a chunk of the contract. Now, if you go to Boston, and the Red Sox have a problem at third base, you go to Boston and say, we'll move Machado to you, and we're going to pay half the contract, but you got to give us your farm system. Of course, remember this, though. Machado has a no-trade clause. He can dictate where he wants to go. He's not going home to the Miami Marlins, but maybe he'd go to Fenway Park, in which he hit a bunch of home runs, etc. But the Padres would have to swallow a huge amount of that contract. And is that a good business decision? I'm not sure it is.
I don't think Jose Feliciano thinks that's the first thing he wants to do, assuming new ownership. In the end, Machado just needs to hit the damn ball. I mean, and then everything kind of sorts itself out.
Okay, Chris, thank you for joining us. John, next one.
Okay, let's go to Callan. Hey, afternoon, gents. Certainly hoping we'll get Pulisic healthy to play tomorrow. If not, everyone will have to step up their game to fill the void. Australia is not going to be a pushover. Except
that Australia is big, but Australia does not have what I'd call a wide variety of athletes who can run the pitch like everybody that we've got. Whether that's Balagan or whether that's Sergino Dest, obviously more opportunities for all these other young goal scorers. If Pulisic can't play, then other people will have to pick up. But Balagan has really played very well. He's really grown as a player. I mean, he's very different now than he was the last time we saw him in international play. So I think there are many more athletes on the U.S. side to run this system, and I think they have a lot more sniper ability than Team Australia does. They win this one with Pulisic, or if they rest Pulisic, if they win this, that's 6 points in the standings, and that guarantees him coming out of group play as the kingpin.
Hell yeah. I mean, hell yeah. So this is going to be a great, I mean, by the way, I'm watching Canada kick butt on Qatar. It's 6-0, Lee. I mean,
That's
so
amazing. Canada had not scored a goal in World Cup, and now they got 6 today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a rout, so good for those guys. They're going to have their first one on home soil. This tournament's fantastic. We get to, lock in on Team America tomorrow. It's going to be good, even if Pulisic doesn't play as much as he should.
All right, Calvin, thank you.
All right, let's go to Showtime LA. And he says, Skubal and Aroldis Chapman, and you build the statue for Andrew Friedman.
At what price, though? The Dodgers, and John and I have joked about this, the Dodgers historically, and they've made big transactions. I mean, just, hit the memory bank here. Mookie Betts, Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, historically, the Dodgers have never been afraid to go into the marketplace at the deadline and make a big transaction. And John and I joke, they got this guy, and who'd they give up? They don't historically give up any other studs. That's, to me, John, is the most amazing aspect of the conversation. But to get Skubal, they're going to have to give up a chunk of these young stars at AA and maybe the top pitcher at AAA. And Chapman's not going to come cheap either, but that's probably at a lesser cost because he's maybe only got 1 year left on the clock. But how much salary can you take on? Because their salary is really, their payroll is unbelievably high.
Well, they're just deferring deals. I mean, they're working it like Ballmer was working it for the Clippers, but they're somehow squeaky clean from the whole thing. In my opinion, the Dodgers have got to go all in, try to get the three-peat, be on par with the Oakland A's back in the Reggie Jackson Catfish Hunter era, and then, be on par also with those great Yankee teams. They have an opportunity to set history. And yeah, they're like Marsha Brady. They don't ever do anything wrong. It's just always Dodgers.
I just think that they've got more resources, and it's a credit to them because they draft well and develop well, John. I think they got more resources than anybody to get into a bidding war and get Skubal if indeed they want. I think they're going to need Skubal because at this point there is no Glasnow sighting. They have shut Glasnow down twice with this back issue. He cannot throw the ball. And in terms of Snell, who knows between now and August? And who knows if he holds up, even if he's cleared to come back and pitch in August. So Skubal makes a lot of sense. Now, Detroit's gotten hot again. Detroit's starting to play better, starting to hit, and they had a bunch of guys injured. Does Detroit need to trade Skubal? But see, Detroit's not shown any ability to negotiate to sign him to an extension. So interesting to see. But if they do actually make the decision to trade Skubal, I think Dodgers got more assets than anybody to make a transaction.
Yeah, of course. They're loaded. Hey, a little bit of a tangent. I have a question for you, Lee. Talking about the Dodgers, how about their big rival, the Giants? What's your take on this whole controversy about Pride Night and their hats and everything else?
Well, baseball is very upset that pitchers have gone against the grain. The Giants pitchers put Bible verses on their hats. Some of the players talked openly that I have a right under the First Amendment to say I don't subscribe to Pride Night and what that represents. And I guess to a degree the players do have that right. Baseball's not disciplining anybody, but I think they've sent messages that, we're trying to support everybody. Baseball should be about all inclusion, and your public comments do not allow us to be about all inclusion. So that's a big issue. I think it'll go away pretty quickly. It was only a minute number of people. It started with Blake Trinan of the Dodgers, and nobody's made a comment about that. But I think there were 3 Giant pitchers that actually stepped forward and put Bible verses on their hat. Go read Corinthians 2 about da-da-da-da. And I think baseball was a little bit offended that it went that far. I thought you were going to ask me about the other baseball story with the Giants. The Giants are putting all their big money players, Willie Adames, Luis Ariz, and
Matt Chapman, Rafael Devers.
Yeah, putting them all these guys on the trade block. It's like $600 million in contracts. Is it Buster Posey admitting I made a mistake, or is he just shopping maybe to get into a massive rebuild with a lot of young players? I mean, I'm surprised that many good players are having that many bad seasons. But maybe I shouldn't because it's happening here in San Diego.
Luis Ariz is tearing it up, though, Lee. I mean, he hit a bomb last night. But, it's interesting because Major League Baseball tries to market itself to all of these niche demographics. Like there'll be Mexican Heritage Night and, and Star Wars Night. And so then they have like a pride thing and yeah, tweak some guys. But you know what, man? I mean, pick your battles. If I'm a ball player, I pick my battles. You may feel differently inside, but that's something I don't know if necessarily it does you any good to kind of push back on it.
It'll come and go. Baseball's not going to make a big incident out of it, but they send a private message that we're all about inclusion, and you play baseball under our banner, you should be about inclusion. And if not, just don't say anything about it, because there's another game to get ready for tomorrow. That's a good point you make, John. Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go to Ramon Scott Betts. Because Preller has the phone numbers of more 14-year-olds in the Caribbean than Wander Franco.
Oh, well, he won't have access to them if this deal takes place. Again, for those of you who are just joining us, the union and MLB met today, extended talks about the collective bargaining agreement, and they put new proposals on the table to argue about, and they're going to argue about it. Baseball wants to change the entire draft. That's item one. And they want an international draft. And they would ban anybody from signing a 15, 16, or 17-year-old. The international draft would be for guys that are only 18 and older. The regular draft would ban high school athletes from being eligible for the regular baseball draft. You could not be drafted till your sophomore year of college. An awful lot of complications to it. I just don't think this thing is going to work the way it's been presented. Now, you can obviously negotiate certain things in, certain things out. John?
It's Wander Franco. He's toast, right? He's not coming back.
We can't get a visa to get in the country. He's a sex offender.
What a dummy. I mean, but to Ramon's point, I mean, yeah, Preller's got boots in the ground in the DR, so he knows where the talent is. It's always was weird that the rules for international players were such that you could draft them way younger than you could of Americans. And to me, that's an inconsistency that needs to be sorted out. This is a global game. It used to be that the international stars were these oddball exceptions to the rule, but now they're Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and all these great players. I think you got to have a more structured format for that.
It's really interesting because baseball is of the opinion, with the NIL money that's now part of college baseball, that it's better for a young man to go to university, grow as a person, get into a college baseball program, and make the product much better, because there'll be revenue to come to those kids via NIL, and then not take access to these kids until they're a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and they've been scouted. That was in part why baseball, 3 years ago, decided to lop off so many minor leagues and minor league teams, because there was just a general feeling that the spending was so out of control and you're wasting all this money on major league teams having 7 or 8 farm clubs, and a lot of those kids never would develop. Why would you do that? So they've tried to refine where the money's going to and how many players there are. So we'll see if this gets further dialogue. The international draft, I think, would be good. It would limit who's available. It would stop the damn cheating. That's for certain, because it's really the Wild West, especially in the Caribbean, more than anywhere else. And if you put in place baseball academies, and if this 16 and 17-year-old wants to go play under a structured baseball academy under the MLB banner, that works. And then at age 18, they can get drafted. But, the stuff that's going on right now with guys, corrupt agents, if you will, and there's still a lot of drug issues on street corners. They're still trying to reel that all in. So we'll see where this whole draft idea goes. Okay, John, next one. Okay, let's go to our friend John. He goes, hey, you're back on Facebook today. Yeah, Facebook was having outages during our last live stream. Hey, could the Padres be sellers? I have to ask, what general manager in their right mind would take any of those LSD contracts? If the Padres are paying a chunk of somebody's contract, maybe you do it that way. But if the Padres are paying a chunk of somebody's contract, and by the way, I think virtually all the stars have no trades, so that's the second part of this discussion. But if they're paying a large segment, you don't have to pay it all. Now you're going to have to pay by giving up a lot of kids in the farm system to make these transactions work. But at this day, unless there's a relationship with Xander Bogaerts, I don't know who would want him at his age. And Machado, yes, he's still a star. Maybe someplace else, an address change, maybe that changes him. But Padres have to eat half of that contract. And then Machado has to sign off that I'm willing to go to wherever to play that contract. So I think it's a waste of breath. I don't think the Padres would have any credibility, John, if they got into fire sale mode right now. Do you?
No, it'd be horrible. But, there's no way you're going to move that contract. And, after the owner just spent all the money to buy it, he doesn't want to pay money to eat a contract. You'd almost have to, if you wanted to unload it, you'd almost have to say, okay, here's Ethan Salas, but you also got to take over Manny Machado's contract. Or, you got to kind of way to package a prospect with a big contract deal, and hopefully you can offload them together. But in the end, I mean, Machado just needs to perform. He just needs to get up to his career average, and everything's fine. Yep. So I don't understand, like this hitting coach he went and saw, that was connected with Aaron Judge. Is he getting advice from Souza, I wonder, or is he only dealing with his private coach?
Well, he dealt with a private coach during the offseason. Now, the Padres are fully aware, what I was told, of what he was doing, and they sanctioned it. They said, that's okay. You take in all this information, and they're aware, and they've continued to have conversations. But he's not dealing with Judge's coach now because they're playing baseball and they're traveling and all that. He's dealing with what he learned or what he experimented with that has not worked, and obviously with whatever Souza has implemented for them and what the analytics people upstairs are directing. So I just think it's age. I mean, he's played a ton of baseball in 14 years, and guys wake up old, and guys lose their bat swing, and sometimes that's that's related to injuries where you lose your strength. So maybe that's going on, because beyond that, he's doing everything. I mean, he's still playing really hard defensively. He still makes an unbelievable number of great defensive plays. So I think he's frustrated. I'm a big believer in body language. I don't like the body language I see from Manny Machado at this point in time. But end of the day, can't trade him. I just don't see how that's humanly possible from a baseball perspective, from a financial perspective, and John, from a credibility perspective.
Yeah, he's America's favorite scapegoat. I mean, that's for sure.
Okay,
let's go here to Emmanuel. He goes, hey, I'm starting to think that Artie Moreno won't sell the Angels unless he's forced to, like San Diego, until there is a cap in place. A cap would only help cheap owners sell for their teams for a high price.
Well, the cap, though, is going to mandate you're going to have to spend more money. His payroll is down to $155 million. He was shopping at Dollar General all winter long, and virtually none of the guys that he brought in on these short-term contracts, he thought maybe these guys will bounce back and be what they used to be. None of them have really worked out, and they're en route to a 100-loss season. Artie has to make a decision, or maybe baseball needs to do an intervention and say, this product is not reputable enough. You've had your opportunity. We're going to help you find a buyer. Say goodbye to ownership. Baseball has that leverage. Baseball can do that. Baseball's got contacts. So I don't think this thing should be allowed to go on the way it's been operated now. Whether the intent was correct, all the contracts that he signed to guys who didn't pan out, maybe the intent was correct. The end result has not been. Farm system is still really barren, and every rental they've tried, hoping you could kind of hit the jackpot on a lottery ticket, has failed too. So it's just not bad. It's not a good atmosphere up there at all.
Sometimes you just got to know when it's like square peg, round hole. No matter how hard you try, it's just not going to work. And I think that's where the Angels are right now. Hopefully Artie can find a way to reinvest the money that you sell the team for and pursue a new passion, because right now it just seems like he's banging his head against the wall, and it's not working for anybody. He's
also 80 years of age. So, and he thought about selling it 2 years ago and then backed away at the last minute. So I feel bad because I think it's a quality market. I think it could be a spectacular marketplace. And baseball is in such a big upturn in terms of demographics following the game. Why would you not want to be in a marketplace that could have great upside potential? They could make Orange County what San Diego County has become in terms of support of the team. If the product is on the field, incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's an underserved market that deserves more success. Okay, let's get this one more here. Social media. Hey, do you love it? Says, I'm not writing the Padres off this season until we get to the All-Star break. That's only a few weeks away.
Well, understand this. They're in the middle of a stretch in which they play 16 of 22 on the road. I don't know where they're going to be in the standings by July 4th, but with this roster, with the skitterish starting rotation and dead last in virtually every offensive category, this season will be a disaster by the time we get to July 4th. And then we still have half a season to play. Nobody could have seen this coming. Now, I saw it coming from the pitching standpoint, John, because I was alarmed all winter that they just did not have enough pitching. And then Pivetta gets hurt on top of Musgrove's long-standing rehab. Do not have anywhere near enough starting pitching to play a 162-game schedule. And I said that opening day. And there's no way at this point to go get pitching unless you move what's left in the farm system. And that would be Ethan Salas, and that would be maybe one of the young pitchers, Mayfield, down at AA. But they're in a world of hurt. And I just don't know where they're going to go. Now, new owner comes in. Maybe he infuses more money. But more money means bigger tax bill because they're already above the luxury tax threshold. So anybody buy in, you're paying 100% on whatever the dollar value of the contract you're bringing in. But I'd like to see them find something, maybe a change of address for Jarren Duran in Boston. I was shocked. He's still hitting 214. At this point, he's just not the same player. And that kid was dynamic when he first came to Fenway Park. So there are probably players out there they can get. What do they have to give up to get one? And then if there's something bigger, I don't know how they execute a transaction because bigger means bigger contract. Bigger means more guys going out the door to get a better player coming in the front door. Tough call.
Yeah, the hitting's been a problem all season. For a long time there in April, the bottom third of the order was carrying the team, and they would always squeak out a run or two in the seventh, eighth, or ninth innings. And then remember, there was a time when they were like one of the top records in the league, but their run differential was like barely over zero. So you can just tell they were squeaking by.
Yeah, but thank goodness they were playing a lot of the substandard teams in baseball the first quarter of the schedule. So it's a tough call. I wish I had a direct answer for the fans. But I always said all along, John, ever since we started this podcast, there was a window, and that window was going to get closer and closer to closing because of the aging players and the length of the contracts. And right now it looks like it's on the brink of closing.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go to some social media here. And here's a good one. This is from a Padre fan. I'm Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. I want to talk sports with you. Up and down the coast from Oceanside to National City. Classic. I listened to this guy on my ride to school in the early 90s.
Well, we did it a long time. And I thought we did a great job doing it. It's interesting because I occasionally get some emails. People can access me through my website. They can send me an email there. And I try to respond to as many emails as I can. And I said, you need to invoke some of the phrases you used when you're doing sports talk radio on 690 and 1090, from Baja to the Canadian Rockies. Well, now I know, John, we got to come up with some new verbiage because we're not just from Baja to the Canadian Rockies. We're all over the globe. I mean, we get followers in Canada and guys in Brazil, and we get guys in Japan that access on the live stream or they watch it after the fact. So now, yeah, we'll just have to start invoking some hacksaw-isms as part of this.
Oh, yeah. You got to bring in all the shtick is great. I mean, that's what we grew up listening to you, and people love quoting hacksaw shtick, when they're with the guys drinking beer, watching sports. So that's good stuff. But I love it. Yeah, Chef Jared, what a great comment. Let's keep moving. Let's go talk some F1 racing with MK Wager. He goes, Kimi is the real deal. Toto Wolff is the best judge of driver talent in F1. Everyone questioned him when he promoted Kimi. Nobody is doubting him now.
Kimi Antonelli, 5 wins in a row up until this past weekend in Spain when he blew an engine. I mean, I think the thing that stuns me is this is a 19-year-old that's accomplishing this. We're not talking about Ayrton Senna. We're not talking about somebody unbelievably experienced. And there have been so many, the Michael Schumachers of the world before his accident. I mean, we are talking about a 19-year-old doing what he's doing in these high-powered machines with no fear whatsoever. And, of course, they got this sucker dialed in. Now, I'm going to be really intrigued, John, because I'll pull a name out of the bin here. We got to pay attention going forward. Lewis Hamilton. Have they figured this out at Ferrari? Because he went through such a really bad stretch. His run at the end of Mercedes was miserable. Got to Ferrari. They could not figure anything out, even the start of the season. And now suddenly, Sir Lewis is on the podium with a win. Before that, there was a second-place finish. Before that, there was a fourth-place finish. How has Ferrari figured this out after a year and a half of misery and anger and rage and failure? That's really interesting. So as we go to the back half of the F1 summer schedule, no doubt, obviously, Kimi Antonelli is the name to pay attention to. But has Sir Lewis become something really special here? And no longer Verstappen's not running up front. I mean, look what's happened to Team Red Bull. And obviously, Lando Norris's team and Piastri's team, who for 2 years owned the sport, they're MIA too. It's amazing who's figured it out, who is not. But the kid is unbelievable.
Yeah, no fear. I mean, which is incredible for some of these young racers. And I know they start young. I mean, they start in those little cars, on the dirt ovals, and they work their way up and 19 and killing it in F1. But Lewis Hamilton's dating Kim Kardashian now, so maybe that's the secret sauce here is Kim Kardashian.
Interesting. Well, hey, we got somebody who's an F1 fan, so we'll continue to cover it here. When there's stories to be talked about, we will cover it. John, move on.
Moving on. Okay, let's go here to Chuck Toad. Hacksaw, can you ever talk about something with a positive spin? All you do is poke and jab and criticize. This team is not a failure. They're competitive, but baseball is baseball. Let chips fall where they may. They're a fun and exciting team to watch for the past 7 years. But if anything short of a World Series championship is a failure, then you're looking at this game through the wrong lens.
Well, look at where they are, and it's been downhill. Has baseball at Petco Park been great for 5 years? It sure has, Chuck. No doubt about it. And Preller's wheeling and dealing and then wheeling and dealing more and then wheeling, dealing a third time brought us a lot of really good baseball. But we have not gotten to the promised land. Outside of the playoff series with the Dodgers, which was up just exciting beyond belief. I mean, I close my eyes and all I hear is beat LA, beat LA. And all I see when I open my eyes is Jurickson Profar jumping up and down after robbing the Dodgers of a home run. But at the end of the day, have they been in the World Series yet? No. They have a chance to go to the World Series? No. Not with aging contracts. And that's the intangible part in which we have to critique what they did, because they've traded the farm system away. You look at every box score, there are Padre players everywhere having really good seasons. And those guys were the bargaining chips to get guys here. And we haven't gotten to a World Series with the guys that we traded for. So we have to be realistic here. It's great for the fans to have Petco Park as a destination destination point. Preller has just been a riverboat gambler, and that's kind of cool to watch him do his job. But at the end of the day, you have to be held accountable, and the scoreboard does not lie, John, where they are right now. I don't know. You tell me. Am I too critical, or are we just being realistic as to painting the picture the way the picture is?
Well, yeah, the data doesn't lie. We can see the win and loss record. We're seeing the runs scored. We're seeing Manny Machado's OPS number. It's a problem. But I want to get deeper into this because this is Chuck Toad, great nickname here. But he's saying that, you're always negative Nelly here, trying to say how awful this team is. Now, can you be objective? And how would you compare your style of sports journalism with like the crazy guys on the East Coast that are really critical of the Yankees and the Phillies and all those teams over there?
It's a good question. I've never compared myself to anybody. I just dealt with the facts and my knowledge of the information. And so therefore I have this opinion. But I'm not negative all the time. Hell, back in the winter when AJ Preller went shopping and I knew John, he had limitations in his budget. He went shopping and he bought what I call the lottery tickets. And that was Walker Buehler, who's turned out to be a really good acquisition. Might be a 5-inning starter, but he's been a good acquisition. And he gambled on Marquez, and I knew all about Marquez. And Marquez pitched pretty well until he got hurt in Colorado in a bad set of circumstances. And they kept trying and they kept trying because that's all they could afford. So I've been positive. Hell, we sat there and talked about the kid shortstop who became the center fielder I called the natural, Jackson Merrill. Tatis is gifted. Now, he's not hitting home runs, but he's on a heater right now that we've not seen from Fernando Tatis in a long period of time. So I don't think you can say, oh, you guys on this podcast are just being negative. No, we're not, because we do praise them. If you put out a checklist of the things we said that were positive versus the things that we said we felt we needed to critique, I'd say there's balance. I don't know, John, you tell me. You're a fan.
You know, it's just funny. People are saying, he's a Padre hater. No, he's a Padre lover. No, he's a Dodger hater, a Dodger lover. And everyone's trying to categorize you, to be aligned with certain fan bases. I think it's funny. Hey, let's here's another Padre comment. And this one is from, here we go. Yeah, 714 AIM. Talking about Machado and the Padres. Hey, explanation, baseball karma. That guy is a chump, kicking balls out of play, trying to knock balls out of the first baseman's hands. The guy is a chump, a total chump. That's what's happened to Manny Machado.
Well, he's got, should I say, character flaws or personality glitches that seem to offend a lot of people. And again, there were stretches, and he's guilty of opening his mouth and putting his foot in his mouth too. I mean, I'll never forget his comment about, when questioned about playing hard, his comment coming out of the Dodgers in the end of their playoff run, I don't have to be Johnny Hustle. I'm Manny Machado. And his comment to me, look at the back of my baseball card. Okay. So when you're not hitting, that means your baseball card shows really negative statistics at the most important time of the season. And when you're loafing and not running out ground balls, what kind of message does that send to the fans who pay their good hard-earned money to come cheer the team and maybe cheer for you? So sometimes the comments he makes just kind of offend people along the way. And then, therefore, now the whole world piles on him because dude's hitting 178. And he's never hit like this ever in his life. So, boy, there are a lot of Machado haters out there, too. And
oh, yeah.
He's had a really good career. He might be a Hall of Famer. But at this point in time, he's not playing well. He doesn't help himself by saying some of the things he said.
Yeah, well, it's funny how he's really hated by the Brewer fans, because of the incident at first base. And then he had that incident with Pedroia when Pedroia was with the Red Sox, right? So can you imagine, the Red Sox trading for Machado? I don't think that could ever happen. I mean, he's persona non grata there.
Persona non grata, I think, a bunch of different places. Interesting. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this expanded podcast on a Thursday night. We apologize for being a little bit late. John and I are kind of running uphill against technology on some given days. We'll be back here on Monday at 1:30. And Monday, of course, NBA Draft also. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations in San Diego to serve you. Go to Dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. Just a reminder, I write about sports every day of the week. Check my website. Join Hacksaw's Insiders Group on my website. Think you'll really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. John, we got it done. No FUBAR today. Have yourself a great sports weekend. I will talk to you come Monday.
Yeah, Team USA tomorrow night against Australia. Here we go, Lee.
USA, USA. You have a great sports weekend, too. Thanks, as always, for being part of this podcast. You make this thing works. Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.